Hoy vamos a hablar sobre el subjuntivo en cláusulas con adjetivos. Y voy a poner este PowerPoint en Blackboard. Entonces, si quieren imprimir el PowerPoint en vez de tomar apuntes, está bien en inglés. I'm going to put this PowerPoint, or this PowerPoint is in Blackboard. If you want to print the PowerPoint rather than taking all the notes from this video, feel free to do so. And I would suggest that you print it in black and white so you don't use up all your parents' color. Okay, the subjunctive and adjective clauses. I'm just going to pretty much go through and read through this and explain a couple things. When the subordinate clause of a sentence refers to something, the antecedent that is known to exist, the indicative is used. When the antecedent is uncertain or indefinite, the subjunctive is used. And that's pretty much the rule for everything. Now, when we're talking about the antecedent, another word for the main clause is called the antecedent. So when this is known to exist, then we use the indicative. If it's uncertain or indefinite, then we would use the subjunctive. So in this situation, it says, busco un trabajo que pague bien. So I am looking for a job that pays well. We're not sure if this job exists, and that's why we use the subjunctive, because we're looking for it, we haven't found it yet. Voy a darles otros ejemplos. Okay. Antecedent certain. Necesito el libro, right here, que tiene información sobre las ruinas mayas. I need the book, if you see in English, that has information about Mayan ruins. In this situation, this book actually exists. So we would use the indicative. On the other side, necesito un libro que tenga información sobre las ruinas mayas. I need a book that has information about the Mayan ruins. When we actually just change from el to un, there is a definite book on the first side. It exists. The second side is saying I need a book that has information about the Mayan ruins. We don't have a specific one. We haven't found it yet. So we would use the subjunctive. Otro ejemplo. Okay. Buscamos los documentos que describen el itinerario del viaje. So we are looking for the documents right here that describe the itinerary for the trip. They exist. So we would use the indicative. On the other side, buscamos documentos que describan el itinerario del viaje. We don't have los, which we're saying specific documents. It translates to we are looking for any documents, okay, that may describe, you put may in there, the itinerary for the trip. We don't have them yet. We're trying to find them. That's why you would use the subjunctive. Esta información también está en el libro. Si quieren ir a estructura 5.2, está en el libro. Okay, subjunctive, again, other examples. Aquí hay alguien que conoce muy bien la zona. Okay, there is someone here who knows the area very well. This person exists. Now, if you put it in a question, you're questioning it. Hay alguien aquí que conozca muy bien la zona. Is there someone here who knows the area very well? We're not sure if this person exists. So then, in this situation, depending on how you form the sentence, depends on if you're going to use the subjunctive or not. Is there existence, or is there, are we questioning existence? Okay. Atención. An adjective clause is one that modifies or describes the noun or direct object in the main clause, and that's what we've been talking about. So the second part after the K is actually describing the antecedent, and that's why it's called an adjective clause. When the antecedent, okay, the first part of an adjective clause is a negative pronoun, nadie, ninguno, etc., the subjunctive is used in the subordinate clause. For these two examples from our book, no hay nadie que la pueda cerrar. Esta persona no existe. This person doesn't exist. That's why we use the subjunctive. Okay? And no hay nada que pueda dejar. Again, this doesn't exist, so we use the subjunctive. Otros ejemplos. Ella tiene 3 parientes que viven en San Salvador. She has 3 relatives who live in San Salvador. Existen, no? Exists. There's certainty here if there's existence. Ella no tiene ningún pariente que viva en La Palma. She doesn't have any relatives who live in La Palma. So in this situation, there is non-existence here. So the second part would be in the subjunctive. Now, not every time you would use a negative like ningún, you would have to use a subjunctive. It's just when you have the antecedent, okay, you have two different clauses, and the second verb in the second part would be in the subjunctive. Otros ejemplos, okay. For your trip, there are 2 countries that require visas, okay. This exists, hay dos, okay, países. And on the other side, it says, para su viaje no hay ningún país. Okay, there isn't any country. It doesn't exist, so then we would have to put the verb in the subjunctive. Un poco más de ejemplos. Hay muchos viajeros que quieren quedarse en el hotel. There are many travelers who want to stay in the hotel. No hay nadie que quiera alojarse, lo siento, en el albergue. This person does not exist, so we would use the subjunctive. A couple other things before we finish up. The personal a is not used with direct objects that represent persons whose existence is uncertain. I've always said before that if you have another person in the sentence, it's not the subject, that you typically need the personal a in front of it if you don't have another preposition. But in this situation, if we're not sure if this person exists, you wouldn't use the personal a. Busco un guía que habla inglés. On the other side, conozco a un guía que habla inglés. Just a small grammar rule with that. But the personal a is maintained before nadie and alguien, even when their existence is certain. So a nadie here, yeah, alguien. Now in this situation, a nadie tells us that we have to use the queje, we have to use the subjunctive here. This person on the other side exists, so we would use the indicative, se queja. Okay. The subjunctive is commonly used in questions with adjective clauses. Now remember, an adjective clause is the second part is describing the first clause, or the antecedent. The subjunctive is commonly used in questions with adjective clauses when the speaker is trying to find out information about which he or she is uncertain. If the person who responds knows the information, the indicative is used. So an uncertainty question would be, me recomienda usted un hotel que esté cerca de la costa? First of all, recomendar is a subjunctive. But even if it wasn't here, we're not sure if it exists. Can you recommend a hotel that is near the coast? So we'd use a subjunctive. The answer, you don't have to answer in the subjunctive. Sí, el Hotel Flamingo está justo en la playa. Here's another one. Tiene otra brújula que sea más fácil de usar. In this situation, this isn't typically a subjunctive trigger, but we're not sure if it exists or not. So we would use a subjunctive. Do you have another compass that's easier to use? And then a sentence with the indicative. Vea esta. Now, vea, right, is a command. Vea esta. So look at this one. Y si no, tengo 3 más que son muy fáciles de usar. So look at this one, and if not, I have 3 others that are very